The environment is not an add-on, it's not a luxury that you invest in when you can afford it. It is the medium within which we operate as human beings.
If we're not managing it properly, then we're damaging our economy and we're damaging local communities.
At the moment we still have some options, but our options get narrower and narrower as time goes on.
People in Scotland have always banded together to defend what's dear to them. It was here, in remote Lurchers Gully in the Cairngorms, that the seeds of Scottish Environment Link were first sown. Wildlife, conservation and outdoor recreation groups, many still in existence today, campaigned together to defend the natural value of this place. At the time, these organisations saw in each other not just a common cause, but the need to change and exchange views across Scotland. Founded in 1987, we bring together over 35 environmental charities from across Scotland. The network represents around 500,000 people.
We work on a range of issues like woodland enhancement, woodland protection,
transport, climate change,
and recovering the health of our seas.
Landscape protection and enhancement.
Food policy.
Conserving wildlife.
And outdoor recreation.
Environmental courts and environmental rights.
And the overarching questions of environmental governance.
Nature is just gradually disappearing, and I think that in 10 years' time, decisions that we're not making today are going to look like a massive missed opportunity.
Nature takes a long time to change, so the changes we make now are going to be a legacy for the future.
We're witnessing declines in our wildlife and we don't know if we're doing enough to turn that around. As an example, harbour seals on the east coast of Scotland, the populations there are just 10% what they were 10 years ago.
Things are moving fast. Will there come a point when we move from simply trying to educate people, change how things are done, to just crisis management?
We've got a window of opportunity at the moment, but if we don't take action now, that window of opportunity will be lost.
Many of these environmental arguments, you need to present a coordinated case.
Because it is difficult to get agreement sometimes on some things and to really make progress, to come to a position which isn't just so watered down and consensual that it means nothing. It does take a lot of work to really push the boundary to the furthest it can be.
Take one example. How do we progressively move people into a more realistic understanding of the status of deer in Scotland?
Link's become a forum and a network for change. Networks are among the most powerful of human organisations.
Link involves members from right across Scotland in taking part in the way that we're governed and the decisions that are being made, stopping things happening that they don't want to happen and making things happen that they do want to happen.
And that's why Link has, over the years, on many occasions, contributed strategic thinking to how the different aspects of land management should work together to benefit people and the economy and the environment of Scotland.
Since the Scottish Parliament was established in 1999, the whole environmental debate in Scotland has absolutely transformed, and there's no doubt in my mind that Scottish Environment Link, by giving a collective voice to Scotland's environmental movement, have shaped the public debate and worked with the politicians in this Parliament in partnership to make sure we have addressed some of the urgent pressures, some of the urgent issues facing Scotland's environment.
There's so much that's changed in Scotland as a result of having a Scottish Parliament having the time to seriously think about the laws of Scotland, that it's a transformation, it really is. And it's been so important working together in Link to have that concerted voice.
Quite often you're trying to change government policy and the government doesn't want its policy to be changed. And that's really hard, but it's a great prize if we can do it.
In my role as Environment Secretary for 9 years in the Scottish Government, even though I was often very seriously challenged by the environmental movement and the Scottish Environment Link, I found that input, that voice very, very valuable.
As a parliamentarian, it's good to have reliable, well-considered sources of information around environmental issues, and I think they're extremely credible in that regard. I mean, the thing that perhaps typifies what they bring to the table is the Species Champion programme. Hugely successful programme, and it's great when we have the debates in the chamber here, parliamentarians who maybe represent urban areas standing up and speaking with a passion and a knowledge about the subject. And that knowledge comes from the way in which the Environment Link organisations engage, so they articulate the message really well, and you can see that in the contributions that the relevant species champions make.
All of the changes that have happened in terms of environmental legislation or, institutions in Scotland, all of what's happened in the last 20 years has been influenced more or less by Link.
And if you think this government and some of the pressure that some of the opposition parties have put on mean that we're in a pretty good phase at the moment to think that we can move Scotland in the right direction and we can be a good example. So that's great, but there are still areas of all of our agendas where they're completely on the back burner or embarrassing to talk about. So environmental courts, environmental rights for communities, something many Link groups are really keen on. Government doesn't want to talk about those at all.
When you're working in our sector, quite often you're telling people things that they don't want to hear. And you're telling them things that are difficult and are going against societal norms, and we're challenging. And that can be a lonely space to occupy. One of the other things Link does is help create a support network for people who are working in an area that can be really challenging and really hard work. And knowing that you've got other people standing shoulder to shoulder with you who share your concerns and who will support you is invaluable.
When people from these organisations are coming together in Link, they're building up an enormous reservoir of trust, which has massive hidden benefits for all the other work they do outside of Link together as well, for the benefit of our environment.
One of the reasons our environmental community is so strong is because they're also investing in the relationships that build that common cause. Scottish Environment Link is part of a strong UK-wide network collaborating with sister links in England, Northern Ireland and Wales. We have a European and international presence through our membership of the European Environmental Bureau and the World Conservation Union, or IUCN.
The environment is the perfect example of how our world is connected and integrated. The challenges we're facing are global, like biodiversity loss, climate change, resource use.
The environment knows no boundaries. Pollution crosses borders. Issues like agriculture are addressed on a European scale.
So the solutions need to be global and international as well.
I think too often in the environment movement we concentrate on putting out fires, but what we really need to do is concentrate on the massive drivers of environmental degradation and make sure that we're putting in place the foundations for restoring nature in the long term.
Protecting Scotland's environment, enhancing Scotland's environment rests on people. And we'll only protect and enhance it if people care and take action. The tendency is to think of us as a very rural country, and we do have large rural areas, but the majority of Scotland, sort of around 6 million people, don't live necessarily in rural environments. They live in urban environments, they live in towns, they live in cities. And so I think a big challenge for us is how do we engage with people where they are rather than where a lot of our environmental resource is located.
We have a role as an independent public watchdog to alert the wider public and government to threats to the natural world.
We can be really effective if we reach out beyond our normal groups, and perhaps the groups that we feel comfortable with, to other areas of civic society who perhaps don't even identify as environmentalists or environmental groups, and start working with them, talking with them.
The environment doesn't have a voice. We do, and it's becoming louder and better informed.
I think that when we sing together as a choir, we're much more powerful. And that's why I think Link's ended up as one of the best environment organisations in Europe.
It's easy to see Link now as a given. It's there. You can take it for granted. Never take it for granted. Because it only was created and it only survives and only will survive because of the collegiate efforts of its participants.
We have a duty to future generations to leave the planet in a better state than we inherited it. And the only way we can do it is by enhancing what we have now.